After Kevin Rudd was very publicly criticised by the US President Donald Trump yesterday, strong support has emerged today from different quarters, including the current and a former Prime Minister. You just heard from Tony Abbott, plus at least one Republican congressman. Joining us live this morning, the Nationals leader David Littleproud. David, thanks as always for your time this morning. So how do you feel about Rudd's position in the US now? Is it untenable, as Susan Lee described yesterday?
Well, let me firstly say we welcome the critical minerals deal with the United States, but I think it's more about good luck than good management. President Xi basically laid it in our lap, and it was a goal that we couldn't miss. The reality was China made it very clear about what they intended to do around those critical minerals in the United States, and Trump was in a corner, and we're the ones that have it sitting underneath our feet. So I think the fact and the evidence is still clear that the Prime Minister wasn't able to get into the White House for over 330 days since his election, when other leaders have waltzed through the White House and have cut better deals. We welcome the deal he's cut, but there has obviously been a question mark over the relationship. There's no way in the world President Trump wasn't briefed around the comments of not just what Kevin Rudd said, but also Prime Minister Albanese said previously. You don't let that information not be passed on to a president, particularly when you're putting tariffs on the country. So we welcome the deal, but I think in all honesty, in diplomatic speak, I think Donald Trump let them off the hook a little bit yesterday, and it was because of our long-standing relationship that Kevin Rudd wasn't shirt fronted it even more, and probably Anthony Albanese either, because of what he's also said about President Trump. It's time to move on, but we've got to be honest. They're not going to remove Kevin Rudd. He's a Labor former Prime Minister, and they're going to protect him as much as they can. But we've got to get back to what's right for Australia, what's best for Australia. We welcome the deal, but it's more about good luck than good management.
But are you comfortable? Do you support him staying in the role until terms end?
Well, this is what I'll say. We've got to be honest. I think the reality is President Trump doesn't like him, has never liked him, and it's clear evidence that we have been held back. And while this deal is great, we didn't get any concessions on steel or any of the other tariffs that other countries have been able to carve out. So I'm not convinced that Kevin Rudd is the best candidate to be our diplomat in Washington. And doesn't have the full confidence of the administration. And it's great to see Congress and senators pile in behind him. But the administration is the one that are cutting the checks. They're the ones that are going to cut the tariffs. They're the ones that are going to make sure that AUKUS flows freely. And when you've got an ambassador that has a history, there's no way in the world that that's all in Australia's best interest.
Paul Kelly had a pretty damning assessment of the coalition in the Oz this morning. He points out that Albanese has taken risks, whether it's resisting significant defence spending, criticising Trump's tariffs, embracing China, making a call on Palestine, which has isolated a big portion of the Jewish community. Has the coalition misread Australia's relationship with the US? If we're getting this critical minerals deal, if we're getting a commitment to AUKUS in the future?
So you're telling me that it's great that Virgin pilots are identifying Chinese warships off our coast doing live fire exercises?
I'm just saying that this has been pointed out.
Spending. No, and that's what I'm saying in response to his comments. I would have thought that Australia needs to defend itself. It needs strategic partnerships. It needs to make sure that when tariffs were placed on Australia, when there was question marks raised over AUKUS, that the deep and enduring relationship that we have with the United States, that we would have had a meeting either in the White House or somewhere around the world without a selfie, that we would have solved these issues. I mean, the primary responsibility of any government is to keep its people safe. And when we're relying on Virgin pilots, there's a very serious question mark over our defence and our defence spending. And for the Prime Minister to snub that and then to basically want to acknowledge the Palestinian state when you see what's happening at the moment, Hamas is still running the show. We've got an 89-year-old president that hasn't had election for over 20 years, has no control over it, no inclination to have elections. I mean, the reality is you've got to stand by the principles of what's right and about what's going to protect Australia. Okay. And a deep relationship with the United States is important, and it was important over 330 days ago.
OK. Well, let's get to your own house, David. Will you have a net zero policy in place by Christmas, as per reports, following a national showdown on the subject next week?
Well, we've had a long structured process since the election.
Yeah, but an answer.
A review would be undertaken. Well, I don't control the speed of that process. So as soon as that process is complete and Matt Canavan and Ross Cadell present the party room with the paper, then we've made a decision to actually work through this calmly and methodically. And as soon as we get that, then we'll facilitate that. That's always been the process that was unanimously agreed by our party room. Once we get to a position, the process we'll go to the coalition, we'll go to our coalition partners and let them know where our position is.
Okay, so...
but we want to be able not just to be a protest party, we actually have to be a party of government. And so we're going to put together a policy platform that says to Australia and the world that we're a responsible party that has looked at this in a calm, methodical way with science and with economics in tow.
So how likely is it that you've got two competing policies within the coalition, and how would that work in practice if that's the case?
Well, first and foremost, I lead the National Party, and the sovereignty of the National Party has always been important to me, and we'll get to our decision predicated on our constituency and about what are the values that the Nationals want to be able to stand behind. We'll then respectfully work with our coalition partners, and I can't tell you where the differences will be, where the similarities will be, but we'll be constructive in working through that. That's what a good coalition has done for over 100 years, and I'm prepared to stick by that principle.
Have you spoken to Barnaby Joyce in the last couple of days, or even the last 24 hours?
I spoke to him, not in the last 24 hours, I spoke to him on Sunday, made it very clear. Nothing's changed. He hasn't resigned from the National Party. Like every other National Party member, he's welcome to our party room. There's no different class of membership in the National Party.
So he'll be there next week?
We're all equal. We all get the same say. Well, that's a matter for Barnaby Joyce.
Okay.
He's welcome,
because
and that was made clear to him. So the party room continues on as is, and we'll continue to focus on the decisions and the policies, and particularly things like net zero and energy policy. We're going to focus on that, not ourselves. We're interested in saying to the Australian people, as we did at last election, it proved quite clearly that when we held on to all our seats and nearly pulled off a miracle in Bendigo when the rest of the country was against the coalition, we had a double-digit swing to us, that we are the sensible party. We take common sense to Canberra, and we're prepared to continue to focus on that. And that's what our party room will focus on. And everyone is welcome who's a member of the National Party to be part of that process. That's what served us well for over 100 years, and will continue to serve us well.
But potentially you've got defections. You know, maybe Barnaby, maybe Lou O'Brien. I mean, how alarmed are you about that, and what that says potentially about your leadership?
Well, my leadership has been about the primacy of our party room. Our party room determines policy settings and where we head forward. That's how we've always operated. I haven't always agreed with the policies that have come out of our party room, but I haven't left the National Party because of it. You're part of a team. Politics is the brutal game of arithmetic, as John Howard said, and unless you've got a team and a majority of numbers, then unfortunately you've just got to continue to try and prosecute your case further. That's what we'll continue to do. That's the way that I think you get better policy outcomes, is draw on the collective. This isn't about individuals. Our party shouldn't be about individuals. It should be about our collective coming together with their wisdom to create the policies we need. And that's the environment I've created in the party room over the last 3 years. It's been successful. It was successful at the last federal election, and so we're going to continue to focus on the policies and on the Australian people.